Hey everyone, Richard here. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what I would do if I had £30,000 to invest in a buy-to-let property. The reason I'm doing this video is because ultimately when I'm always on calls with people who are looking to enroll into my training programs, one of the main questions I get asked is, what would you do if you were in my position? And more often than not, people have 30K, 50K, 100K. They have a lump sum to invest. And I'm just going to start off with the lower end to start with, of just like say 30K. You might be somebody who's got 30K to invest and you're thinking about what's the first property that I should buy. Well, in this video, I'm going to cover off what I would do if I had £30,000 to invest in my first buy-to-let property. And hopefully that gives you some insights into how I'd go about it, and hopefully it will help you to understand how you might start thinking about going about it too. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Norris. I've successfully built a multi-million-pound property portfolio, and my group of property companies does over 100K a month. So in order to answer this question, like the best thing we can do is go into Rightmove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off giving like a brief explanation of what I would do and where I'd think about investing. Then I'm going to head over into Rightmove. I'm going to try and find some properties for you live of example deals that I would look at with my first £30,000 if I were to invest it. What type of property would it be? Would it be a flat? Would it be a apartment? Would it be a terrace property? Would it be 2-bed? Would it be 3-bed? Where would it be? All of those things. And we're going to run some live numbers. And I'm actually going to put up the whiteboard here, and we're going to run the actual numbers so you can see what the investment does and how we can basically grow the portfolio off the 30K. So first things first, like if I had £30,000 and I was looking to invest, the first thing I would do is I live in Oxford, right? It's a very expensive place in the world if you don't know it. Like honestly, there's a place called Summertown, which is quite close to where I live. And honestly, you can buy like a 2-bed property and it's going to cost you like £650,000 to £700,000, right? Oxford's a great area for capital growth. It's not a great area to say invest to build a buy-to-let portfolio. If you really want to maximize your returns, especially if you've got 30,000 to invest, right? It's not going to go very far in Oxford. In fact, you may not even be able to buy your first buy-to-let property in Oxford if you had £30,000. And I know a lot of people, like specifically when I started out and I was thinking about investing in my very first property, like maybe Oxford was unaffordable for me, right? And so I had to move outside of Oxford and I had to invest outside of area. And like there might be people from say London watching this video where house prices are specifically high at the moment. And I really appreciate that. And I have tons of clients in my program that are from London, and ultimately they start investing outside of area too, like myself. Now I invest in the northwest around the Manchester area. I could potentially go around the Birmingham area and I could probably find properties around there to invest my first 30K. But for the purpose of this video, like I'm going to show you, I basically think I would start in Manchester because I'm just going to show you exactly what I did. I didn't buy my first property as a buy-to-let. I actually bought it as a HMO. But if I had 30K, I'm going to show you what I would do. And I'm going to show you the investment areas to where I would look. So first things first, like if you're from the south, I would start looking up into the Midlands towards like Birmingham area, 30 miles out, maybe through to Nottingham, all the way through to places like Mansfield, all the way through to like the northwest of the UK. And I'd buy my first property there because ultimately I can really get I can get a higher return on my numbers, and my 30K can go further. And that's really important when you're starting the property portfolio from scratch, right? Because if you invest in an area that's got high capital growth, like you're going to tie up all of your first £30,000 in the first property. So it's going to be difficult to scale from there. So let's go over to Rightmove. Let's jump into the northwest. Let's jump into Manchester. Let's try and find some properties. And then once I've got the property, I'll bring you over to the screen. We'll run some calculations. And then after I've run the calculation for that, I'll actually show you what one of my clients has recently just done and how they purchased their first property with around the 30 to 40K mark of investment. All right, let's jump over to Rightmove. I'll see you there. Okay, so let's jump in then. So now we're in Rightmove. The first thing I'm going to do in the Rightmove is I'm just going to look for houses for sale, and I'm going to look for them in Manchester. So I'm just going to write Manchester, right? Now, ultimately, you could do this search wherever, right? If you've got 30K and you're looking to invest, you could do the search wherever. But like I say, the reason why I'm doing the search in like Manchester is because you're going to get like a lower house price or a higher rent ratio, which is going to be ideal to help you to scale if you've got £30,000 and you want to build a portfolio. Because it's going to be difficult to do that in like Oxford, London, those sorts of areas. And like I said, I live in Oxford, so this is why I'm picking Manchester. Like I say, you could put Birmingham, Nottingham, Mansfield, Stoke-on-Trent, any Middlesbrough, places like that. anywhere around those areas like work really well, and I've seen lots of my clients buy great properties in there. I've also seen lots of my clients buy great properties in the sort of the South Wales area. And like I say, the second example I'm going to show you in this video today is a property over in Merthyr Tydfil that my clients brought and converted from a 2-bed to a 3-bed as their first investment with around 30 to 40k of cash. So if I was doing this, I'll jump into Manchester because that's where I invest anyway. It's a great area. And I'll just put like Manchester, Greater Manchester here. Hopefully this is going to work. This area only. I'll put within 30 miles. Not sure why Rightmove is doing this, but it should be fine. So Manchester within 30 miles. Then price range. I'd say minimum is like 70,000. Maximum I'd set to like 150. Number of bedrooms, I'd go 2. Maximum, I'd go 3. So ultimately in the property type, if I had 30k, like what's the first thing I'd invest in? I'd ultimately probably invest in just a 2-bed or a 3-bed terrace property because they're going to be the most cost effective for my 30,000 to get my money working as hard as I can. And secondly, it's going to be like the least maintenance and it's going to have the least nuances attached to it. Like I'm a big fan of keeping things simple. And ultimately, like some people might be thinking like, well, should I buy a flat? And you can buy a flat, but there's more nuances when you buy a flat. Like you've got, generally speaking, on flats, it's going to come with a leasehold. It's going to be in a block of, say, maybe 10, 12, 15, 20 flats, right? Like there are going to be other flats in the block, which basically means that you become a small stakeholder. And personally, like I say, I like to keep things really simple when I'm investing. So if it was my first investment, I'd definitely choose like a 2-bed terraced house or 3-bed terraced house. So Manchester within 30 miles, price range 70 to 150, 2 to 3 beds, houses. Let's see if we can find some properties. Okay, great. So started to bring them up. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take these from lowest price to highest price. And I'm going to look. So there's one in Liverpool here. That's a 2-bed terrace property. So let me take a look at this one, see what this one looks like. Okay, so again, this might be something that I'll take a look at, like this sort of thing. It doesn't look like there's like huge amounts of work to be doing it. Okay, it's being sold through modern method of auction, but I still might consider this sort of property. Unfortunately, there's no floor plan, but that'll be something like that I'll be thinking about. Let's see if we can find some more. Another one in Stoke-on-Trent, again by modern method of auction. But this sort of thing is the type of thing I'll be looking at, right? Because ultimately, like it doesn't need like loads of work doing to it, right? And interestingly enough, like, hey, this one's a good one because look, it's got a sitting tenant paying £495 per calendar month, right? So straight away, we've got our rental income there. So the next thing I was going to do was going to go over and look at the rents. What rents could I get on a specific property? So, I mean, this one's Stoke-on-Trent, £70,000, sitting tenant paying £495, right? I mean, it needs a slight bit of, doesn't really need much doing to it either. So yeah, I'm going to take this property. I'm just going to use this one as an example. Like this might be something that I'd honestly take a look at, especially because it comes with a sitting tenant as well. So my first investment, if it's already tenanted, it like takes it off my hands. So £70,000, £495 rent in Stoke-on-Trent, looks pretty good to me. So if I go back to the search results, so I mean, that's what you've got there. It tells you exactly what it is. But let's say I didn't find one straight away like that, right? So I found another property. Let's say I found another property and I didn't know what the rent was going to be. So what's this one? Millgate, Barnsley. Okay, let's just take a look. Okay, tiny bit of redecoration needs doing to the wall there. Maybe could spruce up the kitchen a little bit. But yeah, again, something like this is something I would look at. The good thing is as well, there's not much turf. I don't know whether the grass is next doors. But the reason why I'd buy something like this as well is because like least maintenance possible, right? So like if I'm buying a property outside of area as well, I don't want to buy a property where like, say for example, the tenant leaves and the grass hasn't been cut and the management agent hasn't dealt with it very well, which can happen. Nuances happen, these things happen. I really want to keep things as least maintenance possible. So like astroturf in the back garden or even just slabs is like fine, right? Like the fake grass as well, that's always a good option, but it's expensive, but it just means that it's like least hassle. So what I would do with this is like I might say this property here, Barnsley, S714QF. Like if I didn't know the rent, I would just basically go over to, I'll take that postcode. So take the postcode of Barnsley. I'll take that postcode, right? And I'd go and find like rental properties. So I'd go in the rent section, rent, property to rent. I'd put in that postcode, start search. Okay, it's saying it's not coming up. I'll just go Barnsley then, South Yorkshire, start search. This area, number of bedrooms 2, number of maximum 2 bed, property type houses, find properties. And like you can see here, like 695 for a 2 bed, 625, 650, 600, 575. And I'll do a bit more research on this to make sure that they were in the right postcode, like that postcode we had. To make, I mean, S70, that's going to be close to the S71, 650, but it's a nicer property. And then like 495, okay. And I'll just start digging in and doing a bit more research around the postcode and what the rent was. But I'd find the rent, and then I'll just go and take that rent, and then I'll start running the numbers, how I'm going to show you in a second. So that's the way I would do it. I'll just approach it like this. I'll go in, try and find a 2 or 3 bed terrace property in and around an area where they've got low house prices. And like, I mean, like, one thing I forgot to say as well, actually, if you go back here, like where you look at the house price, I mean, there's 3,500 results for properties in and around Manchester within 30 miles, between 70,000 and 150,000. That's really good, because as investors, we want to find stock, right? So you've got like huge level of options there. And like, you know, like I say, like I'm not buying below market value or anything like that. I'm not having to do direct to vendor. I'm just straight on Rightmove, finding a property, looking for the average property and getting the first one done. So let's jump back in and run the numbers on this. So remember that we're going to go for we're going to go for this one in Leek Road, Stoke-on-Trent, purely because it had a sit-in tenant and it already told us the rent was 495, right? We may be able to increase the rent to like 550 as well, I would assume, or 525 if we can maybe increase and add a bit more value to the property by doing a bit of a renovation. So let's go into the numbers. So let's run the numbers. Now that we found the property, let's basically analyze the numbers and see what it works out at. So £70,000 property, that's what it was on the market for. Let's say we brought it for market value or what the property was being advertised at. Now, typically as a buy-to-let investor, you have to put down like a 25% deposit if you're using a buy-to-let mortgage. And that's pretty standard. So we'll take the £70,000 and we'll times that by 25%. Which basically means 70,000 times 25% gives us £7,500 as our deposit, okay? So that's our deposit that goes into the deal. And then basically what that means is on a mortgage, we take the 70,000, we times that by 75%, which is the mortgage. So we take out a mortgage of £52,500, right? That's our mortgage, okay? And then what we need to work out is like out of our £30,000, we got the deposit, we know that, that's the down payment. But then what we need to work out is like our purchase cost. Now, when we're buying a property, we have stamp duty. So I'm going to put down the stamp duty here. Now, stamp duty, £0 to £125,000, you don't pay any stamp duty. You only pay the additional rate of 3%. Now, I know that this is your first buy-to-let property. So let's say that in this scenario that you own your own home though, right? If you didn't own your own home, your stamp duty on this property would literally be nothing. But because you might be somebody who does own their own home, then let's say the stamp duty is at the additional 3%. So you've got nothing to pay on 0 to 125, but you have to pay the 3% surcharge. So we take the £70,000, we times that by 3%, gives us £2,100 of stamp duty, right? So 2,100 as stamp duty land tax, SDLT, stamp duty land tax, okay? And then what we have is we have to factor in for our legals. Now I'm going to allow £1,500 for legals, okay? And then I'm going to allow for my broker fees as well. So when I'm doing a property like this, I have to allow for my broker fees and my valuation. Now, this can sometimes be as much as as little as zero. Like you might have a broker that doesn't charge you, gets paid by the lender, but notoriously, like when I take out a buy-to-let mortgage, my broker charges me an application fee of £499. So I always allow, and again, I'm always conservative with my numbers. So I'm going to say that we've got roughly a £500 broker fee, and then I'm going to allow like £700 for valuation. So I'm going to allow £1,200 in here for like broker plus valuation, right? So at the moment, this deal's cost me $17,500 plus my $2,100 stamp duty plus 1,500 legals plus 1,200 broker fee. And then like if there's any other costs, and like let's say that there's going to be a refurb cost. Now in this property, remember there was a sitting tenant paying £495. So typically like you wouldn't go and refurbish this property, right? Because it looks like it's already in a good condition. But if you were to refurb it, you'd have to basically go through the process of maybe finding alternative accommodation for your sitting tenant and paying that whilst you're doing the refurb, right? But I'm just going to keep things really simple for this worked example as your first property investment. And because it already had a sitting tenant in there paying $495, I'm just going to run it as no refurb. And this could be a good first investment because if you look at it, like this is what it would work out at, right? So the total cost then is $17,500 plus 2,100 plus 1,500 legals plus £1,200 to your broker fee. So the total cost to you as an investor for this deal is going to cost you £22,300. So that's going to leave you £7,700 left in your pocket out of your £30,000 cash that you've got in the bank, right? Now, then what we need to work out is like what this rent's for. So the rent was $495, so £495 per month. Now, then we have our mortgage, right? Now, how much is the mortgage going to cost us per month? What we do is we take the mortgage that we're taking out of £52,500 and we times that by a mortgage interest rate. Now, if you're buying this in your own name as your first investment, you'd probably pay anywhere between 2 to 3%. Right, roughly, if you bought it in your own name. We're going to say for the purpose of this example that you're buying it in a limited company because you want to build a property portfolio, and this is the first property that you're buying to start your property portfolio off, right? So ultimately, most of the time people buy in a limited company. So 52,500 times say 3% gives you £1,575 because that's what that works out to be across the year. And then we divide that by 12, which means that the mortgage is going to cost us £131.25. I'll put £131 for the purpose of this example. Okay, and then we have like management fees. So you're going to have a management agent. Now, typically the management agent will take 10% against the gross rental income. So we'll take 495 times 10%. That's going to give us £49.50, right? And then I always allow something called MOE. And that basically is my monthly operating expenses. It basically allows for any wear and tear and any kind of pack testing, boiler service, gas safety certificates that need to be done, all the kind of nuances that we have and requirements that we have as a landlord, right? So I take 10% of the gross rental income for that. So that's another £49.50. And then I work out what my total net monthly cash flow is going to be. So 495 minus my 131 mortgage minus 4950 minus 4950 is going to give me total net cash flow of £265 a month for my first property with just a 22,300 investment. Now, if I times that by 12 to give my annual cash flow, so times that by 12, my annual cash flow is going to be £3,180 per year off a 22,300 investment. Now, if I take the £3,180 and I divide that by 22,300 and I times that by 100, ultimately on this deal is going to make me an ROI, so return on my investment of 14%, right? And like that's not bad considering that you're not adding any value to the property, right? You're literally just buying it. It's very simple. It's a very easy deal. Just 22,300 down. Get your first investment done. You've got a sitting tenant in there, so you don't need to find tenants, and you haven't done any refurbishments, and we haven't brought it below market value. That's as easy as it can be, guys, to buy your first property investment. Right now, what I'm going to show you is something that One of my clients did. I'm going to show you their deal that they did. And again, it was a similar style of property. It was a 2-bed property that they converted to a 3-bed property, though. So they actually did some renovations to it. And it was over in a place called Merthyr Tydfil, which is over in South Wales, for those of you who don't know where that is. And again, we're going to run the calculations, right? So if I run the calculations and show you a worked example of what my client did with their first investment, and it worked out to be about 35K, I think, all in. So a little above the 30K. But hey, if you have around 30K to invest, like, this is what I would do. I'd either do example one if you're somebody who doesn't want to do a refurb, but probably if you want to do if you're up for doing a refurb and you feel confident enough to do that on your first project, I'll probably buy a property, add value to it, refinance it, so my money can come back out and I can keep scaling, right? So this is what I would do in that scenario, right? So this property is a 2-bed terrace property over in Merthyr Tydfil. It was on the market for £85,000, right? And my client managed to purchase this for £76,000 following my step-by-step process in my training program that shows them how to get below market value deals. They were able to negotiate £9,000 off of the purchase price, right? So they got it like 9K below market value. Number one rule when you're doing buy, refurbish, refinance, buy it below market value. So got it below market value. Now on this specific property then, take the 76,000 times that by 25%, their deposit was £19,000. So £19,000 was the deposit, okay? And then the mortgage that they took out was 76,000, okay? Times 75% is 57,000, right? They took out a mortgage of 57,000, okay? And then we have all of the legal fees, stamp duty, legal fees, basically all the purchase costs, okay? So in this scenario then, the stamp duty land tax was just 3% of the 76 because they already owned the property, which was their own home. This was their first investment. 76,000 times 3% gives them £2,280 in stamp duty. Then you have legals, okay? And the legals were around £1,500. Okay, then they had the broker fees and the application fees and the surveys and stuff. That came to around £1,200. Okay, same fees as I used in my example number one. That's the fees that they paid. And then we have refurb, right? We have our refurb costs. Now the refurb costs, including like hold costs. And what I mean by hold costs is like, when we buy the property and it's empty and we're doing our renovation, our refurbishment, I always allow for things like hold costs, which is me paying the gas, water, electricity, and the council tax while the property is empty. Now, my client was able to get council tax relief. Empty Homes Officer said, hey, it's not habitable at the moment. The property's empty. We're doing a refurb. We basically applied for exemption of paying council tax, and we got granted that. So there was no council tax for them to pay, but there was like gas, water, electricity, and also the mortgage to pay each month as well. So I'm going to put refurb and then I'm going to put my hold costs down here, right? Now, hold costs are basically, if we take the 57,000 mortgage and we times that by 3.5%, which is the mortgage that they got. So that was the interest they paid on the mortgage. 57,000 times by 3.5% divided by 12 gives you a figure of £166. And if we times that by 3 months, okay, their hold cost of £498, right? £498 plus we're going to allow £10 for gas, water, electric, so 30, 60, 90 across the 3 months. So 498.75 plus 90 is 588.7. 588.75. So let's call it 589. I'm going to round everything up to make this calculation easy for you to understand and for me to do. For 589 hold cost, refurbs on this property was just £12,000. Okay, 12,000 was all it cost them to basically convert it from a 2-bed to a 3-bed. They literally just put a partition down bedroom number 2, which was really big, and they created a 3-bed out of it. They basically put in new bathroom, new kitchen, literally just new flooring and paint. That was pretty much all that they did to create it from a 2-bed to 3-bed. Now, what happened then is they basically went and got it revalued, right? Now, let's just work out at the moment how much money that my client has spent on this property. £19,000 deposit plus 2,250 stamp duty plus 1,500 legals plus 1,200 for the broker fees and the survey plus £12,000 for the refurb and £589 for the hold cost. So this deal actually cost them 36,539. Okay, so slightly more than the £30,000. Okay, if you're able to save another 6.5, you could do this deal. There's other creative ways you could do it, but keeping things simple for the purpose of this video and to keep me on track. I always have a tendency to overspeak and go off track, so I'm going to do try and do my best to stay on track today. So £6,500 extra, okay, is what you would need in this specific example. But again, it's between that 30 and 40k mark, right? So that's what it cost them. Now, what they then did, which was different to example one, where example one, we bought a property with a sitting tenant and we only spent 22,300, you could be a little more creative and you're going to see the difference in the ROI as well. So what my client decided to do is they did all the works to it and then they came and refinanced it. Now, what that basically means, they take out a new loan against the property and they pay back the original loan, and the equity that they pull out can go on to the next property. And you're going to see how we can do this and generate quicker returns. So, and on this deal as well, by the way, they don't pay an early repayment charge. On most properties that you buy, you have to pay an early repayment charge to get out of the mortgage, but they didn't have to pay an early repayment charge on this specific property. Because we went with a company called KRBS, which is Kent Reliance Building Society, and they basically say, hey, if you come with us, buy a property, add value to it, we will allow you to refinance it, A, quicker than the 6-month rule for FCA money laundering regulations. You can do it as soon as the refurb's finished, as long as you've added value, and B, you don't have to pay an early repayment charge. Okay, so that's what we did. So this got revalued at 115,000. So they bought it for 76, converted it from a 2 to 3 bed, spent 12 on it, got revalued 6 months later at £115,000, right? Now, if we take the 115,000 and we times that by 75%, that gives us 86,250 as a new mortgage, right? Now, what we do is we take the 86,250 and we pay back the original mortgage of 57, which is here, right? Which basically is 29,250 that we get out. So the money we take out the deal, so MO money out, is £29,250, and the money left in the deal is basically what my client spent, the 36,539 here, 36,539 minus the money out, which is 29,250, equals £7,289 is all they left in the deal. So if you had 36,000 to invest, you've just bought one property using the 36,500. You've added the value, you've refinanced it 6 months later, and out of that 36,500 that you used to buy property number one, you've taken 29,000 back into your bank, so you've got the deposit again to go and buy property number two. And if you repeat that process out of that 30,000-ish, 30 to 40k-ish, believe it or not, you might be able to get 3 or 4 properties out of that if you left 7,000 in each deal, right? How amazing is that, right? Love it. That's why I love property. Use your money, leverage your money, get it working for you. Now, in this scenario, then the rental income for them on this property was 675 for the 3-bed. The mortgage is basically 86,250 times 3.5%, which is 3,000 a year, divided by 12, gives them £251 that they pay on the mortgage every month. The management fee, they negotiated at 8%, so 675 times 8% is £54 to have it managed by an agent. And then their MOE, okay, the monthly operating expenses that I explained earlier, 10% of 675 is 67.50. So basically the gross rent that they make on this property is 675 minus the 251 minus the 54 minus £67.50 gives them a gross profit of £302.50 a month. And if we times that by 12, they're making £3,630 a year, okay, which is excellent. Then we take the £3,630 a year and we divide that by the money left in, which is 7,289, and we multiply that by 100, we basically get our ROI. So 3,630 divided by 7,289, 3,630 divided by 7,289 times 100 means that they got a 49% return on their investment. Okay, so that's basically saying just off £7,000 of their money left in the bank. So if they had 7,000 in the bank, they're making £302 a month of net income of interest. So off £7,289 in their bank, they're making £3,630 net income a year of having that money in the bank. That's amazing, right? You've got to look at your properties like a bank. All I think about is I don't get emotionally attached to it. I say, okay, what's this property going to give me? What's this bank going to give me? That's all I'm thinking. And I'm putting my money in the bank to give me the highest return and ultimately setting up a tax structure, which means I pay no taxes as well. Okay, I have lots of tax videos that you can look at that show you how to do that. Okay, so that is what I would do if I had £30,000, between 30 and 40k to invest in my first deal. It shows you the difference between the two. One, real simple, can buy it for 22,300 odd pounds. Okay, up here, what do we put into it? Yeah, £22,300 is all we put into it. Sitting tenant, no work to do, just buy it. Get the first one done, leave some money in the bank, 14% return. But if we went for a little bit more effort, found a property that we could add a bit of value to, did a refurbishment, then you can make a higher return at 49%. There's no right or wrong, whatever suits you, but if I had 30k, that's what I would do. So hopefully this helps you. If you like this video, hit the like button. It helps me to get more views and I'd really appreciate it. And it enables me to share content with more like-minded people like yourself. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon as well so that you get weekly notifications when I release new content. So thank you so much for watching. Be great, be resilient. I believe in you, and see you in the next one.